Okay, so now we are going to talk about compositions. Now we know whenever you want to create composition in After Effects, you can simply hit Control N like this. And because we are in starting phase, so we can click on this new composition icon over here. So after doing that, we will get this composition settings. Now, first option you will get is composition name. So you can give whatever name you want. Like as always, I give main animation, but this time I'm going to name it as 01 com for our understanding. And over here we don't need to check out this advanced and 3D renderer, which we will talk about later. But right now let's talk about basic options over here. So in basic, first of all, we will get this preset options. So right now it's custom, which means you can manipulate these options by yourself. Like width is 1920, you can choose even 500 or even more than that. It's totally up to you and you can change that, but mostly we do choose is 1920 by 180. But if you're doing this thing for specific purposes, then in preset options, right now it's custom, but you will get this many options. Like suppose if you're using ultra HD 4K, and after which is 23.976, it's basically frame rate. So suppose if I'm clicking on UHD 4K 25, if I click on it, let's say, then as you guys can see, our settings are also changed. The width is different, height is different, and frame rate is also different. So according to your needs, you can choose whatever preset you want. Generally I don't like to choose any one of them, because mostly time we are working with videos options. So I'm going to choose it 1920 by 180, and frame rate is 30 seconds, like this. Okay, so it's going to be custom. Then after that you will get this option known as log aspect ratio. So what is that? Now suppose if I want to change the width over here, after doing that, as you guys can see, I can change width, but I'm not changing that height. But what will happen that sometimes I want to change the both of the size at the same time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this log aspect ratio, and now suppose if I decrease the size of height, it will also decrease the size of width also, and same vice versa. If you are going to increase, it will increase that also. So this option is useful, and if you uncheck this, you can adjust them separately. So let's enable this log aspect ratio, and now suppose if I'm going to choose 1920, it will automatically become 180. Then option is known as frame rate, which is frame per second. Most of the time in videos we use 30 or maximum 29 frames. I prefer to choose 30, but if you want to create a very smooth animation, then you can choose 60 also. Okay, so we are going to choose 30 only. And quarter resolution, you can choose full initially. Then you will get this option known as duration. Right now it's 10 minutes. I'm going to choose 30 seconds. And background color, let's choose white color and simply hit OK. Now over here in composition name, I'm going to type, let's say, composition 01 ellipse. Okay, and hit OK like this. And let's enable this choose grid and guide option like we said. Now we know we have shape tools over here, and if I select this shape tool, I can manipulate the color also. If I go to the fill option and I'm going to choose red, and out of all of these shapes I'm going to choose this ellipse, and by holding shift I'm going to create one ellipse over here. Okay, because we have named this ellipse. Now I can select this and I can press Ctrl Alt Home to align their anchor point at the center. I can go to the align tab, align it horizontally, and then align it vertically like this. Now suppose I want another composition, so I can create Control N to create another composition. I'm going to name it as Control 0, and I'm going to name it as rectangle, let's say, and I'll hit OK. Now in project window, as you guys can see, we have 01, which is ellipse, if you see over here, and this is separate composition, which is rectangle. Now inside this I'm going to create my rectangle. So by holding shift I'm going to create this rectangle or square like this, or let's not hold shift and create this kind of rectangle. Now select this, press Ctrl Alt Home to align that anchor point to the center. You can go to the align tab, align it horizontally, and then align it vertically. Now let's change the color of this one. Instead of red, I'm going to choose yellow like this. Now what I want, that I want another composition. Let's hit Ctrl N, and this time I'm going to name it as main animation and hit OK. Now as you guys can see, this is my third composition. So basically we have three composition, one which contains ellipse, one which contains rectangle, and one where we are not gonna create any shapes. But what we are going to do, we in this composition which is main animation, I can bring my this two composition. For example, this ellipse, I can bring this over here. Then I have this rectangle, I can bring this over here. As you guys can see, we are getting something like this. Because ellipse is on the top, that's why we can see ellipse first. If I bring this ellipse down, then I can see rectangle first. Okay, then I can select both of them. I can press S for scaling option, and I can scale the size also. We will talk about the scaling and etc stuff, but all you need to understand that you can scale the size of this and manipulate that. The basic concept is that in compositions you can bring etc another compositions. You can create multiple compositions, and you can bring those composition in certain compositions according to your needs. But because this main animation, so you cannot bring this main animation comp over here because you are already in main animation comp. Okay, so this is how this composition thing works. We are going to talk about in details whenever we are going to create proper animation, but I hope it's whatever I told you, it's good enough to understand the concept of this compositions.